Okay, let's be real. Being the forgotten child wasn't exactly a starring role in the family drama. It was more like being an extra, the one who blended into the background while the spotlight shone brightly on my perfect older sister, Anya. Anya, with her flowing blonde hair, dazzling smile, and effortless grace, was everything I wasn't. She was the star athlete, the straight A student, the social butterfly who charmed everyone she met. Me? Well, I was just Zara, the quiet one, the bookworm, the one who preferred sketching in my notebook to attending parties and chasing popularity. It wasn't that my parents were mean or anything, they just didn't really see me. I was like a piece of furniture, a comfortable armchair they barely noticed until they needed a place to rest their weary and probably judgmental butts. Zara, honey, be a dear and fetch my purse, would you? My mom would say, her eyes already scanning the room for someone more interesting to talk to. Zara, sweetie, why don't you go play in your room? The adults are talking, my dad would say, his attention focused on the latest stock market report or Anya's impressive academic achievements. And Anya? Well, she was too busy with her own fabulous life to even notice I existed. She was always surrounded by friends, attending parties, winning awards, her social calendar overflowing with glamorous engagements. Me? I was there, in the background, blending into the wallpaper, fading into the shadows. It wasn't that I was unhappy exactly. I had a comfortable life, a loving family, sort of, all the material things a girl could want. But there was always this emptiness, this nagging feeling that I didn't truly belong, that I was just an extra in the movie of their lives. Anya, darling, that dress is absolutely stunning, my mother would gush, her eyes sparkling with admiration. Thanks, Mom, Anya would say, twirling in front of the mirror, her smile radiant. Zara, honey, what do you think? My mother would ask, her voice an afterthought. It's nice, I'd mumble, my eyes glued to my sketchbook. Nice? Anya would scoff, her nose wrinkling in distaste. Zara, you have no sense of style. And she was right. I didn't care about designer labels, fancy clothes, or the latest trends. I was content with my jeans, my t-shirts, and my worn-out sneakers. I was comfortable in my own skin, even if it wasn't the skin they wanted me to wear. The differences were endless. Anya was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. Me? I was the screw-up, the one who always seemed to disappoint. Anya got a perfect score on her SATs, my father would announce, beaming with pride. That's great, I'd say, my voice flat. Zara, you need to try harder, my mother would say, her voice laced with disappointment. You have so much potential, but you're not applying yourself. Hey, potential? What potential? The potential to be more like Anya? The potential to be someone I wasn't? I was tired of trying to be someone I wasn't. I was tired of being the forgotten child, the invisible girl. I wanted to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. But I knew deep down that it would never happen. Not in this family, not in this life. It started with a cough, just a little tickle in my throat, nothing major, but it lingered, growing more persistent, more insistent until it became a hacking, rattling sound that echoed through the house. Zara, honey, are you all right? My mom asked, her voice laced with a hint of concern, a rare occurrence, usually reserved for Anya's sniffles or a particularly dramatic paper cut. I'm fine, I mumbled, my voice raspy, my chest tight. But I wasn't fine. The cough worsened, accompanied by a fever that left me shivering and weak. I started losing weight, my appetite vanished, and a persistent ache settled in my chest. Zara, you look terrible, Anya remarked one morning, her nose wrinkling in distaste. You should really see a doctor. I'm fine, I insisted, though my voice lacked conviction. But Anya, bless her perfect heart, was actually worried. She dragged me to the family doctor, who listened to my lungs, frowned, and ordered a battery of tests. The results were, not good. A rare lung disease, the kind that makes doctors shake their heads and whisper grim prognoses. Surgery was the only option, a risky, expensive procedure with no guarantees. It's serious, the doctor explained, his voice grave. But there's hope. With the surgery, you have a good chance of recovery. Hope, a strange word, a foreign concept in my world of forgotten birthdays and overlooked achievements. But suddenly, there it was, a flicker of light in the darkness, a chance to live, to fight, to prove them all wrong. And for the first time, I felt a surge of something. Not quite hope, not yet, but a spark of defiance, a refusal to accept the fate they'd assigned me. I wouldn't be the forgotten child, the one who faded away without a trace. I would fight, I would survive. I'm going to have the surgery, I announced to my parents, my voice surprisingly steady. They exchanged nervous glances, their faces etched with a mixture of concern and something else, something I couldn't quite decipher. It's expensive, my father said, his voice hesitant. And risky? I know, I said, but it's my only chance. We'll discuss it, my mother said, her voice vague. Discuss it? What was there to discuss? My life was on the line. Didn't they care? My life is worth saving, isn't it? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. They looked at me, their eyes filled with a mixture of pity and something else, something that looked a lot like indifference. Of course, darling, my mother said, her voice soothing. We'll do everything we can. Everything they could? Or everything they were willing to? The doubt lingered, a shadow in the back of my mind. But I pushed it aside, clinging to the hope that this time, finally, they would see me. They would value my life. They would put me first. I'm going to beat this, I said, my voice filled with a newfound determination. I'm going to survive. And for the first time, I believed it. The surgery was scheduled, the hospital bed booked, the pre-op appointments lined up. My parents, bless their oblivious hearts, seemed genuinely concerned. They fussed over me, cooked my favorite meals, a rare occurrence, usually reserved for Anya's exam celebrations, and even offered to redecorate my room, though I suspected it was more about impressing the visiting nurses than any real concern for my well-being. We're going to get through this, sweetheart, my mother said, her voice surprisingly gentle. We're here for you, Zara, my father echoed, his hand resting awkwardly on my shoulder. I wanted to believe them. I wanted to feel the warmth of their love, their support, their unwavering belief in my recovery. But a nagging doubt lingered, a shadow in the back of my mind. And then, the bombshell dropped. Anya's wedding, a lavish affair planned for the same week as my surgery. A destination wedding, no less, on a remote island in the Caribbean. It's unfortunate timing, my mother admitted, her voice laced with a hint of guilt. But Anya's always dreamed of a fairy tale wedding, my father added, his eyes pleading for understanding. Understanding? How could I understand? My life was hanging in the balance, and they were worried about a wedding, a party, a celebration. So, what about my surgery? I asked, my voice trembling. They exchanged nervous glances, their faces etched with a mixture of discomfort and something else. Something that looked a lot like indifference. We've made some adjustments, my mother said, her voice evasive. Adjustments? What adjustments? I soon found out. The surgery was postponed, indefinitely. We've used the funds for Anya's honeymoon, my father confessed, his voice barely a whisper. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. The funds, my surgery funds, the money that was supposed to save my life. Gone, spent on a honeymoon, a luxury vacation, for Anya. You spent my surgery money on a honeymoon? I repeated, my voice filled with disbelief and rage. It's just a temporary setback, my mother said, her voice soothing. We'll find another way. Another way? What other way? Sell the house, beg on the streets, sacrifice my life for their perfect daughter's perfect wedding? You? You chose her, I whispered, my voice breaking. You chose her over me. They were silent, their faces etched with guilt and shame. But there was no remorse, no apology, no change of heart. They had made their choice, and I was the one left behind. The betrayal was profound, the despair overwhelming. I felt like I was drowning, suffocating in a sea of abandonment and indifference. My own parents, the people who were supposed to love me, protect me, cherish me, had chosen to sacrifice my life for their perfect daughter's happiness. Get out, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Just get out. They tried to protest, to explain, to justify their actions, but I didn't want to hear it. I turned away from them, my body racked with sobs, my heart shattered into a million pieces. As they left the room, I felt a wave of nausea wash over me, not just from the illness, but from the sickness of their betrayal. They had abandoned me, left me to die. And in that moment, I knew that I was truly alone. Okay, so being left to die by your own family isn't exactly a confidence booster, but surprisingly, it kind of lit a fire under my ass. I wasn't going down without a fight, not this time. The first few weeks were a blur of doctor's appointments, insurance paperwork, and dead ends. The healthcare system, let's just say, wasn't exactly designed for a broke, abandoned girl with a rare lung disease. "I'm sorry, Miss Thorne, but your insurance doesn't cover this procedure," the receptionist would say, her voice dripping with practiced indifference. "But it's life-saving surgery," I'd argue, my voice cracking with desperation. "I understand," she'd reply, her eyes glued to her computer screen. "But those are the rules?" Rules? What about the rule that said parents shouldn't abandon their children to die? What about the rule that said human life was valuable, regardless of bank account balances or social status? I spent hours on the phone, navigating automated menus, arguing with insurance representatives, and begging for a miracle. I researched alternative treatments, experimental therapies, anything that offered a glimmer of hope. "There's a clinical trial," a nurse mentioned one day, her voice hesitant, "but it's experimental, and there's a long waiting list." "I'll take it," I said, my voice firm. "Any chance is better than no chance." I filled out applications, underwent endless tests, and waited. Waited for a phone call, an email, a sign that someone, somewhere, cared enough to save my life. But the days turned into weeks, the weeks into months, and the hope that had flickered so brightly began to dim. The cough worsened, the pain intensified, and the fatigue became a constant companion. "You need to rest," a doctor advised, his voice gentle. "You need to conserve your energy." Conserve my energy? For what? For waiting to die? I refused to give up. I started a blog, sharing my story, my struggles, my fight for survival. I reached out to support groups, online communities, anyone who would listen. "Don't give up, Zara," a fellow patient wrote in a comment. "Keep fighting. We're here for you." And I did keep fighting. I organized fundraisers, contacted charities, and even tried my hand at selling my artwork online, though my artistic talent was probably better suited for refrigerator door displays than high-end galleries. It was a long shot, a desperate gamble, but I was determined to prove them wrong. I would survive. I would get the surgery. I would show them that the forgotten child, the one they left behind, was stronger than they thought. Okay, so picture this: a dingy bar, the kind with sticky floors, questionable smells, and a clientele that looked like they'd lost a fight with a blender. Not exactly my usual scene, but hey, desperate times call for desperate measures, right? I was drowning my sorrows in a lukewarm beer, the cheapest one on the menu, obviously, feeling sorry for myself, and generally questioning the universe's sense of humor, or lack thereof. My latest fundraising attempt had been a spectacular flop. The blog was barely getting any views, and my cough was sounding like a death rattle. "Rough day?" a voice asked, breaking through my self-pity party. I looked up to see a guy, maybe a few years older than me, leaning against the bar, a friendly smile on his face. He had kind eyes, messy brown hair, and a worn-out leather jacket that screamed, "I'm not afraid of a little adventure." "You could say that," I mumbled, taking another swig of my beer. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, gesturing to the empty stool beside me. "Sure," I said, shrugging. What did I have to lose? He introduced himself as Alex, a freelance writer with a penchant for dive bars and a knack for listening. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. He listened patiently as I poured out my story, my voice cracking with frustration and despair. "It's a lot," I said, wiping away a stray tear. I don't know what to do anymore." "You're not giving up, are you?" he asked, his eyes searching mine. No, I said, my voice firm, but I'm starting to lose hope. Don't, he said, his voice gentle. Don't ever lose hope. There's always a way. His words were simple, but they resonated with a sincerity that surprised me. He wasn't offering empty platitudes or condescending pity. He was listening, truly listening. I've tried everything, I said, my voice laced with exhaustion. Doctors, insurance companies, charities. I'm hitting nothing but dead ends. There's always another way, he repeated, his eyes twinkling with a hint of mischief. We brainstormed ideas, tossing around possibilities, some more realistic than others. He listened to my crazy schemes, my desperate pleas, my fading hopes, with a patience that bordered on saintly. What about a crowdfunding campaign? He suggested, his voice casual. Crowdfunding? I scoffed. Who's going to donate money to a stranger with a sob story? You'd be surprised, he said, a smile playing on his lips. People are good, Zara. They want to help. You just need to give them a chance. I hesitated, my skepticism battling with a flicker of hope. Could it work? Could a bunch of strangers on the internet actually save my life? It's worth a shot, right? Alex said, his eyes filled with encouragement. And he was right. What did I have to lose? I'd already hit rock bottom. A crowdfunding campaign, even a failed one, couldn't make things much worse. Okay, I said, my voice barely a whisper. Let's do it. And in that dingy bar, with the smell of stale beer and forgotten dreams hanging in the air, a spark of hope ignited. A spark that would soon turn into a wildfire, fueled by the kindness of strangers and the unwavering support of a man who saw something in me, something worth fighting for. Okay, so Alex, bless his tech-savvy soul, was a crowdfunding wizard. He set up the GoFundMe page, crafting a compelling story that highlighted my plight without being overly dramatic. Though, let's be honest, abandoned by family to die is inherently dramatic. He added photos, videos, even snippets from my blog, creating a narrative that was both heartbreaking and hopeful. We need a hook, he said, his eyes glued to his laptop screen, something that will grab people's attention. How about forgotten daughter fighting to breathe? I suggested, my voice laced with a hint of bitterness. He grinned. Perfect. It's catchy, it's emotional, it's true. We launched the campaign with a mix of excitement and trepidation. Would anyone even notice? Would anyone care? The answer, it turned out, was a resounding yes. The donations started trickling in, then flowing, then pouring in like a tidal wave. People from all over the world, strangers I'd never met, were donating money, leaving messages of support, sharing my story with their friends and family. This is incredible, I said, staring at the rapidly growing total on the screen, my eyes wide with disbelief. See, told you people were good, Alex said, his smile wide, his eyes filled with pride. The comments were even more overwhelming than the donations. Messages of encouragement, prayers, and even stories from people who had faced similar struggles. You're an inspiration, Zara, one comment read. Keep fighting. We're all rooting for you, another said. You're not alone, a third assured me. The campaign went viral, news outlets picked up the story, social media was buzzing, and my inbox was flooded with interview requests. I even got a call from a talk show, though I politely declined. The thought of discussing my family drama on national television was not exactly appealing. But it wasn't just about the money. It was about the support, the connection, the feeling that I wasn't alone in this fight. These strangers, these kind, compassionate souls, had become my lifeline, my community, my family. You're amazing, Zara, Alex said one evening, his eyes shining with admiration. You've touched so many lives. It's not just me, I said, my voice thick with emotion. It's all these people, these angels who are giving me a chance to live. He took my hand, his touch warm and reassuring. And me, he said, his voice soft. I'm here too, Zara. Always. His words were a balm to my wounded soul. He was my rock, my confidant, my partner in this crazy adventure. He believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. The campaign reached its goal, then surpassed it, the total climbing higher and higher. I was going to have the surgery. I was going to live. And it was all thanks to the kindness of strangers and the unwavering support of a man who had walked into a dingy bar and changed my life forever. Okay, so surgery was intense. Like, wake up with tubes sticking out of you and a nurse telling you to breathe deeply. Kind of intense. But hey, I was alive. And that, my friends, was a major victory. The recovery was slow, a roller coaster of good days and bad days, of pain meds and physiotherapy, of endless tests and cautious optimism. But through it all, Alex was there. He visited me every day, bringing flowers, books, and a steady stream of bad jokes that somehow managed to make me laugh. Hey, Zara, did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? The food was good, but it had no atmosphere, he'd say, grinning. I'd groan, but a smile would inevitably spread across my face. You're terrible, I'd say, but my voice was filled with affection. He'd sit by my bedside, reading to me, talking to me, just, being there. He was my rock, my anchor, my constant in a world that had suddenly become very fragile. You're doing great, Zara, he'd say, his hand gently squeezing mine. You're a fighter. And I was fighting to breathe, fighting to heal, fighting to reclaim my life. With Alex by my side, the fight didn't seem so daunting. We talked about everything, my fears, my hopes, my dreams for the future. I told him about my childhood, my family, the betrayal that had led me to this hospital bed. He listened without judgment, his eyes filled with empathy and understanding. They don't deserve you, Zara, he said, his voice firm. You're worth so much more than they ever realized. His words were a balm to my wounded soul. He saw me, truly saw me, for who I was, not just the forgotten child, the overlooked daughter. As I healed, our relationship deepened. It wasn't just about gratitude or friendship anymore. It was about something more, a connection, a spark, a growing awareness that we were meant to be more than just friends. Zara, he said one day, his voice hesitant, I care about you. A lot. I met his gaze, my heart pounding in my chest. I care about you too, Alex, I said, my voice soft. He leaned in, his eyes searching mine. Can I kiss you? He asked. I nodded, my lips curving into a smile. And then he kissed me. It was a gentle kiss, a tender kiss, a kiss that spoke of hope and healing and a future filled with possibilities. As I lay there, in the hospital bed, with Alex's lips on mine, I felt a surge of gratitude, not just for the surgery, for the recovery, but for the unexpected gift of love that had blossomed in the midst of pain and betrayal. I was alive, I was healing, and I was loved. And that, I realized, was all that truly mattered. Okay, so being stuck in a hospital bed for weeks gives you a lot of time to think. And let me tell you, my thoughts were running wild. I wasn't just thinking about getting better, about breathing freely again. I was thinking about all the other people out there, the ones struggling with illness, with financial burdens, with a system that seemed designed to keep them down. It's not fair, I said to Alex one afternoon, my voice filled with frustration. People shouldn't have to beg for their lives. I know, he agreed, his eyes filled with understanding. The system is broken. We need to do something, I said, my voice gaining strength. We need to find a way to help. And that's how the idea was born. Our idea. A business, a platform, a way to connect people in need with those who could help. No more bureaucratic red tape. No more heartless insurance companies. No more desperate pleas falling on deaf ears. We could call it Lifeline, I suggested, my eyes shining with excitement. Lifeline, Alex repeated, a smile spreading across his face. I like it. It's simple. It's powerful. It's hopeful. We spent hours brainstorming, sketching out plans, researching options. We wanted to create a platform that was accessible, transparent, and truly empowering. A place where people could share their stories, connect with donors, and receive the support they needed without judgment or exploitation. We need to make it personal, I said. No more faceless forms and automated responses. We need to connect people heart to heart. Absolutely, Alex agreed. We need to build a community, a network of support that extends beyond just financial aid. We envisioned a platform that offered not just funding, but also resources, guidance, and emotional support, a place where people could find hope, encouragement, and a sense of belonging. We can't change the whole system, I said, but we can make a difference, one life at a time. And that's how you start a revolution, Alex said, his eyes twinkling with determination. The vision was clear, the passion undeniable. We were going to build Lifeline, not just as a business, but as a movement that would empower people, break down barriers, and create a world where everyone had a chance to live, to thrive, to reach their full potential. And as I looked at Alex, his face illuminated by the glow of his laptop screen, I knew that we weren't just building a business. We were building a future together filled with purpose, passion, and the unwavering belief that we could make a difference in the world. Okay, so fast forward a few years. Gone were the days of dingy bars and hospital beds. Lifeline had exploded. We weren't just some scrappy startup anymore. We were a force to be reckoned with. A household name, a beacon of hope for people in need. We'd helped thousands, no, millions of people, funded life-saving surgeries, supported struggling families, empowered communities. We'd built a platform that was more than just a website. It was a movement, a community, a testament to the power of human connection and compassion. And me? Well, let's just say I'd undergone a bit of a transformation. Gone was the shy, insecure girl who blended into the wallpaper. This Zara was a force of nature, a confident, powerful woman who commanded attention and respect. Zara, the board meeting is in 10 minutes, my assistant Sarah would say, her voice a mix of awe and amusement. Got it, I'd reply, my eyes scanning the latest financial reports, my mind already strategizing our next move. I was no longer the forgotten child, the overlooked daughter. I was Zara, the CEO, the visionary, the one who called the shots. And let me tell you, it felt damn good. Alex and I, we were a power couple, the dynamic duo of philanthropy and tech. We were still crazy in love, our bond strengthened by our shared passion, our unwavering support, and the occasional playful banter that kept things interesting. Zara, you're a genius, Alex would say, his eyes sparkling with admiration, after I'd closed a particularly lucrative deal. I learned from the best, I'd reply, winking. Oh, I know, he'd say, his grin widening, and don't you forget it. We were living the dream, a penthouse apartment overlooking Central Park, a wardrobe that would make Anya drool, and a social calendar filled with charity galas and industry events. But it wasn't about the money, the fame, the fancy lifestyle. It was about the impact, the difference we were making in the world. We've received another thank you letter, Alex said one morning, handing me a handwritten note. I read it, my heart swelling with emotion. A young mother whose child's life we'd saved, expressing her gratitude, her hope, her newfound faith in humanity. This is why we do what we do, I said, my voice thick with emotion. It's all worth it, Alex agreed, his hand gently squeezing mine. But success didn't come easy. There were long hours, sleepless nights, and endless challenges. We faced skepticism, criticism, and even outright hostility from those who saw us as a threat to the status quo. They're just jealous, Alex would say, his voice filled with amusement. Maybe, I'd reply, but they're also scared of what we represent, scared of change. We didn't back down. We fought for every victory, every life saved, every barrier broken. We built a team of passionate, dedicated individuals who shared our vision, our values, our unwavering belief in the power of human connection. And as I looked out at the sprawling cityscape, the sun setting on another day of triumphs and challenges, I felt a surge of gratitude. Gratitude for the journey, for the struggles, for the betrayals that had ultimately led me to this moment. I was no longer the forgotten child, the invisible girl. I was Zara, the woman who had risen from the ashes, stronger, fiercer, more determined than ever. And I was ready to take on the world, one life, one dream, one act of kindness at a time. Okay, so picture this. I'm sitting in my office, penthouse suite, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, sipping a perfectly brewed cappuccino, none of that instant crap for this CEO, when my assistant buzzes me. Zara, she says, her voice hesitant, your parents are here? My parents? Here? At Lifeline? After all these years, After the betrayal, the abandonment, the sheer audacity of spending my life-saving surgery fund on a honeymoon, I almost choked on my cappuccino. Send them in, I said, my voice surprisingly calm. It was time for a little family reunion. They walked in, looking like they'd aged a decade. My mother, her designer clothes now slightly faded, her perfectly coiffed hair a bit frazzled. My father, his shoulders slumped, his once booming voice reduced to a nervous mumble. The years of bad investments, reckless spending, and Anya's extravagant lifestyle had finally caught up with them. They were bankrupt, desperate, and apparently, they thought I was their savior. Zara, darling, my mother gushed, her voice dripping with faux affection. It's so wonderful to see you. You look successful. Successful? I echoed, raising an eyebrow. You mean like the daughter you left to die? The forced smile faltered, the warmth in her eyes replaced by a flicker of panic. Zara, please, she pleaded. Let's not dwell on the past. The past? I scoffed. The past where you chose a honeymoon over my life? The past where you abandoned your own daughter? We made a mistake, my father mumbled, his eyes darting away. A mistake? I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. You call that a mistake? You gambled with my life, and you lost. And now you expect me to bail you out? We're family, Zara, my mother said, her voice trembling. We need your help. Family? I repeated, my voice laced with disgust. You stopped being family the day you decided my life wasn't worth saving. They tried to play the guilt card, the we're your parents card, the we love you card. But I wasn't buying it. Not this time. We're old, Zara, my father said, his voice cracking. We have nowhere to go. What about Anya? I asked, my voice cold. She's the perfect daughter, isn't she? Let her take care of you. Anya, my mother hesitated. Anya's going through a difficult time. Her husband, well, let's just say things didn't work out. So the golden child had fallen from grace. The fairy tale wedding hadn't led to a fairy tale ending. Karma, it seemed, had a sense of humor after all. That's unfortunate, I said, my voice devoid of sympathy. They pleaded, they begged, they even threatened to go to the media to expose my heartless refusal to help my own parents. But I just smiled, a cold, hard smile that sent shivers down their spines. Go ahead, I said, my voice steady. Tell the world how you abandoned your daughter to die. Tell them how you gambled away her future for a luxury vacation. See how much sympathy you get. They were silent, their faces pale, their eyes filled with fear. They knew they had no leverage, no power, no hold over me anymore. I was no longer the weak, helpless girl they could manipulate and control. I was the one in charge now. You had your chance, I said, my voice firm. You made your choice. And now you have to live with the consequences. I stood up, my gaze sweeping over their faces, my eyes filled with a mixture of satisfaction and something else, something that felt a lot like pity. Goodbye, Mother. Goodbye, Father, I said, my voice devoid of emotion. I hope you enjoy the fall. I turned and walked away, leaving them standing there, in the middle of my luxurious office, surrounded by the symbols of my success, the evidence of their failure. Okay, so my parents didn't take the hint. Surprise, surprise. They were like those annoying telemarketers who just wouldn't quit, calling, emailing, even showing up at my office, their desperation growing with each failed attempt to guilt-trip me into rescuing them. Zara, darling, we're so sorry, my mother would sob on the phone, her voice thick with crocodile tears. We made a terrible mistake. Please give us another chance. Another chance? I'd echo, my voice laced with ice. To what? Abandon me again when things get tough? No, never, she'd cry. We've learned our lesson. We just want to be a part of your life again. Yeah, right. A part of my life that included a penthouse apartment, a thriving business, and a loving partner. I wasn't born yesterday. One evening, they ambushed me at a charity gala, a swanky affair filled with philanthropists, celebrities, and the who's who of New York society. I was chatting with a potential investor, a charming woman with a genuine interest in Lifeline's mission, when I felt a tap on my shoulder. Zara, darling. my mother's voice chirped, her tone saccharine sweet. We simply had to congratulate you. You've done so well for yourself. I turned, my smile fading as I saw them standing there, looking out of place in their outdated clothes and strained expressions. What do you want? I asked, my voice flat. We just wanted to talk, my father said, his eyes pleading. To apologize, to explain. Explain what? I scoffed. How you chose a honeymoon over your daughter's life. I think I understood that part quite clearly. The crowd was starting to notice, their curious glances and hushed whispers adding to the tension. I could feel Alex's presence beside me, his silent support a comforting anchor. Zara, please, my mother begged, her voice cracking. We're your parents. We love you. Love me? I laughed, a hollow, empty sound. If you loved me, you wouldn't have left me to die. The words hung in the air, sharp and unforgiving. My mother's face crumpled, her carefully constructed facade finally cracking. My father looked away, his shame and guilt evident in his slumped shoulders. We were wrong, he mumbled, his voice barely audible. Wrong? I echoed, my voice rising. Wrong isn't strong enough a word for what you did. You betrayed me, abandoned me, sacrificed me for your own selfish desires. The crowd was silent now, their attention riveted on the unfolding drama. I didn't care. I needed to say this, to finally release the years of pent-up anger, hurt, and resentment. I spent years fighting for my life, I continued, my voice shaking with emotion. Fighting to breathe, fighting to heal, fighting to prove that I was worth saving. And you know what? I did it. I survived. I thrived. And I did it without you. My mother started to sob, her tears flowing freely now. My father reached out, his hand trembling, but I stepped back, refusing his touch. I don't need your apologies, I said, my voice firm. I don't need your explanations. I don't need you. I turned to the woman I had been speaking with before the interruption, my smile returning, my voice regaining its composure. Excuse me? I said. Where were we? I spent the rest of the evening networking, charming potential donors, and basking in the glow of my success. My parents, their last-ditch effort to manipulate me having failed, slunk away, their heads bowed, their shame palpable. As the gala ended, I walked out with Alex, his arm around my waist, his presence a comforting warmth. You were amazing, he said, his eyes filled with admiration. I just spoke my truth, I replied, my voice soft. And it was powerful, he said, his hand gently squeezing mine. We walked in comfortable silence, the city lights reflecting in our eyes. I had faced my demons, confronted my past, and emerged stronger, more resilient than ever. You know, I said, breaking the silence, I used to think that being the forgotten child was a curse, but now I realize it was a blessing in disguise. How so? Alex asked, his brow furrowed. It freed me, I explained. It freed me from their expectations, their limitations, their toxic love. It allowed me to build my own life, my own success, my own happiness. It allowed me to find you. He smiled, his eyes filled with love and gratitude. And I found you, he said, his voice soft. We walked on, hand in hand, our footsteps echoing in the quiet night. I had found my own family, my own love, my own purpose. And as I looked at Alex, his face illuminated by the moonlight, I knew that I had everything I ever needed. I was no longer the forgotten child, the invisible girl. I was Zara, the woman who had risen above the ashes, stronger, fiercer, more determined than ever, and I was ready to face the future, with Alex by my side, knowing that I was loved, valued, and cherished, not for who my family wanted me to be, but for who I truly was.